Hi guys! Sorry I'm a couple of minutes late, but there is kind of an actual Armageddon happening outside. Um, it went from a really bright sunny day to just dark craziness, crazy wind. So I had to get my cats inside and take care of that. So that's why I'm late, but I'm here now. And let me make sure, I'm just gonna give it a couple of minutes for everyone else to join us. You guys hear that? I've done on some other calls that I've done, people have been able to hear the thunder in the background, so I'm assuming you guys can too. And it's a little bit crazy out there, but it's all good because I'm in here with you guys. Another reason that I was a little bit behind schedule, I'm often trying to pack too many things into too small of a time. But I just picked up, I have a digital copy of this, but I just picked up this bad boy, which I'm really excited about. I have a digital copy from when Gabby had it on super sale. I think it was like 99 cents. But I really like writing in my books and highlighting my books. I have a library copy of another one of her books that it's just killing me to not be able to take notes in. So I decided I'm buying it. I'm getting a copy and I'm so excited. Would recommend pretty much anything by Gabby Bernstein. She's great. Okay. So, waiting to see if anyone's trying to jump in here. So today's class is all about negative self-talk. And this is something that pretty much everyone I know deals with. It's something I deal with. It's something that kind of transcends gender. It transcends age, with the exception of younger kids. I think a lot of our negative thought patterns are learned. So I think the younger you are, the better off you are. Obviously, not for everyone, but it's something that affects all of us. And it's really, I can't overstate the damaging effects that negative self-talk can have. There have been some studies that actually show negative self-talk can start manifesting as physical symptoms in your body. So that's really extreme, kind of almost worst case scenario once things start to manifest in your body. But even think about how negative energy, negative thoughts, negative feelings show up in your body, even not as, disease. But think about when you're anxious, where does that anxiety show up for you? For me, it doesn't show up just mentally. It shows up in kind of my heart and my chest too. And I hold a lot of tension in my neck and shoulders. Some stuff in my hips sometimes. So it's really easy to see, even if you're not starting to have it manifest as physical sickness yet, it's still affecting your body. And it's affecting your quality of life when your thoughts, so many of them, are negative. So that is what we are talking about today. But first, I wanted to go ahead and start today's class with a little meditation. So if anyone hops on while I am doing this, just join us. Or if you're watching the replay, just go ahead and do the meditation with. I know it's a little weird to do a guided meditation with a video via a live stream, but just trust it, go with it. So wherever you are, sitting up nice and tall, maybe Finding a cushion to support your back. Both feet planted on the ground. Feeling really grounded, really supported here. Closing the eyes. Letting the palms rest in your lap, on your legs, palms shining upward. That's a gesture of receiving, of openness. Being open to learning, open to new things, open to letting go of old patterns, old thoughts, old stories. And we'll start to breathe here, in through the nose and out through the nose. Keeping the breath moving, noticing where you feel the breath. Noticing if the mind is going all over the place. If so, simply invite it back with this next inhale. Breathing in, maybe feeling coolness at the tip of the nose. Breathing out, maybe warmth. And as you continue the breath, allowing each inhale to become a little deeper, let go of your day. Let go of anything you had to do to carve out time for this class. Let go of anything happening later this evening. Trying to bring the mind to the present moment. Three more complete rounds of breath. And then gently wiggling fingers and toes. When you're ready, gently crack open your eyes. And we will get started. So, for one, notice how you feel after that practice, after that meditation. Do you feel more calm, more grounded? Remember that with meditation, that is such a simple tool. So many people make it harder than it needs to be. It's such a simple tool. I'll get back to this in the class. But it's really great and can completely turn around the way you feel. So if you're just joining me, there's a little guided meditation at the beginning of this. It'll be in the replay. I suggest you go back and take a look at it. So shifting negative self-talk and negative thoughts in general. We actually have, on average, there's a big range here, but an average of 12,000 to 60,000 thoughts a day. So let's say somewhere in between 12 and 60 in the 40,000 range thoughts a day, which is a lot of thoughts, makes sense. And studies have actually shown that apparently 95% of those thoughts are ones that we have had the day before. So we are definitely creatures of habit, which explains how when we have negative thoughts and then we have the same negative thoughts over and over again, it's like water running down a dirt road. It starts to carve out a path. It starts to carve out a kind of divot in our mind. And that suddenly becomes a truth. When we keep having the same thought over and over again, it stops being something we kind of think we might sort of believe to something that is true, that is deeply inherently true about us, which is where things can start to get dangerous a little bit. If you completely believe something negative, bad about yourself, I know this for sure. It has some negative thoughts I've had about myself has gotten in the way of relationships with other people, and then with myself. It has caused me to not go after certain opportunities, caused me to hold my tongue when I should have said something, all kinds of things. The thunder is nuts. So 95% of our thoughts are the same day after day. And perhaps even more terrifying is that an average of 80% of our thoughts are negative. I should have done the math on this, but roughly, or we'll say 40 to 60,000 thoughts a day. 80% of them are negative. That is a shit ton of negativity. That's a shit ton of negative thoughts. And then again, when all of those thoughts are repeated day after day after day, they start to become so normal, they start to become our truth. And that's bullshit. Those negative things that we think about ourselves are not true, and it's not fair for us to keep thinking them. So in this class, I am going to talk through two kind of pieces. The first is the 4-step process that I use and that I've taught to my clients to start reframing your negative thoughts, to stop them where they are, reframe them, and replace them with positive thoughts. So this is where the shifting your negative self-talk comes in. It's this 4-step process. So I'm going to teach you guys that, give you some practical tools to apply, to start using in your day-to-day life. And then toward the second half of the class, I am going to talk with you guys about when you get into that sort of loop of negative thoughts, where it just feels like one after the other. And even if you start trying to make it positive, a negative one immediately comes after. So when you're in that like almost spiral down the drain of negative energy, negative thoughts, negative bullshit, there are 6 really quick ways that I use to kind of break myself out of it and rewire and shift to a different direction. Even if that doesn't quite mean shifting to this rewiring process, these 6 steps are a really great jumping off point. If you're like, this process that you lay out feels too challenging right now, that's fine. And I have some kind of steps layered into it. But that is where we are going this evening. As always, if you have questions throughout, you can just drop them in the comments below, and I will answer them at the end. At the end, I will save them and answer them, unless they're super relevant to what I'm talking about in the moment, because no rules. I say no rules. So questions, leave them there. If you're watching the replay, leave your questions there. I will answer them. And with that, we will get started. So first, we're trying to get rid of some of these ridiculously terrible thoughts, right? So the first step in this process is deceptively simple, but it's just to start noticing your thoughts. So with this in mind, this is why I decided to start with a guided meditation this evening, as well as more people should meditate. And so I wanted to start with a guided meditation. But so many of us drift through our days largely unaware of what we're thinking. And I think that's a big part of why meditations are so challenging for people when they first get started, because most of us are not used to just sitting down, closing our eyes, and really listening to what's going on up here. Because there's a lot of chatter. In Sanskrit, it's called chitta vritti, the fluctuations of the mind. There's a lot of stuff going on up there, right? So starting to notice your thoughts is a really fundamental piece of this rewiring, this shifting process. Because if you don't know where you're starting at, if you don't know what your limiting beliefs are, what thoughts you keep telling yourself, you obviously can't change them, right? You may have kind of a vague idea, but the point of starting to notice is to get really crystal clear on what language are you using with yourself? What specific words feel really damaging to you, kind of in your heart, in your chest? What are those beliefs that are really crippling your self-love, your opinion of yourself, your self-confidence, your anxiety levels, your stress levels. We need to get really clear on what those things are so that then you can start to shift them. So number one, notice your thoughts. Some tips about how to do that. Obviously, I've already touched on meditation. That is a big, big one for me. But if that feels too kind of out there, or if you want to do more than one thing, I also love journaling. So just start with 5 minutes in the morning or on your lunch break or before you go to bed, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, just write out free form. What were your thoughts from the day? How do you feel about yourself at the end of the day, at the beginning of the day? And just start to notice what recurring themes come up and be really honest with yourself. I know it feels scary to sit with your thoughts and to put them on paper, but it is so worth it to start to see where you're at. You can also make a commitment to maybe start a note in your phone. You can use Evernote or whatever app is on your phone currently, and make a note to every time you have kind of a negative thought and you notice it, write it down in your phone. And then again, same thing, we'll come back later and look at these things and look at what the common themes are, and we'll come back to a later step. So meditating, journaling it out, making notes in your phone. And then the last piece is asking questions regularly to yourself about what you're thinking. So you can even set a reminder maybe in your phone to go off every couple hours to say, what are you thinking right now? I ask that question of myself a lot. Notice what you're thinking instead of just being where you're at and letting it go. Notice what you're thinking, especially around times of stress, anxiety. Pause, take a breath, ask yourself what you're thinking. So from there, you'll start to get an idea of the kind of language, the kind of words you use when you talk about yourself, when you think about yourself. And I really want you guys to get real with yourself about what thoughts you're having. What thoughts come up when you think about yourself, about your body, about your work, your job, your relationships, your stress levels, your routine, your food, any of that. And just check out what thoughts, what words, what ideas come up, and then we will use that later on. So the next step is to ask yourself where those thoughts come from. So once we have this list of the different negative limiting beliefs that you have about yourself, we want to take a look at that list and ask where each of those thoughts comes from. So for so many of us, we have just picked up all of this baggage over the years, and baggage in the form of limiting beliefs about ourselves. So one example that I always go to is, imagine, this didn't never happen to me, but I know it's happened to people. Someone tells you, a teacher tells you in second grade, third grade, that you're not good at math. And then for the rest of your life, whether or not you liked math, you thought you were good at math, you are good at math, whatever, you believe you're not good at math, so you don't try as hard. You don't sign up for the harder classes. You don't major in something in college that would require math. You joke about how you're terrible at math. All of these things reinforce it. And it gets to a point when, 20, 30 years later, you might not even realize until you sit down and ask, where does this belief come from? That it doesn't actually come from you. It came from something else that happened that you've been holding on to for way too long. So get honest with yourself about these beliefs. Is there a limiting belief around something that your mom or your dad told you? Or some nasty comment from an ex-lover or a current lover in a fight? Is there something that a friend who you've kind of lost touch with once said to you that is really contributing to a limiting belief? Start to identify where these ideas are coming from so that you'll be able to move on to the next step. And a word of not caution, but just an asterisk, if you will. It is okay for the answer to be, I do not know. It is completely okay. And if that is the case, then you just move on to step 3 anyway. Because it's important to keep coming back to this question and keep asking where this belief comes from, because that's what you have to eventually root out and really come face to face with. But through this process, you will likely start to identify where it comes from. And it might feel too vulnerable, too scary to go to that place right now. And that's okay. So I don't know, totally acceptable answer. But at least try. Think about where it comes from. So the next step is to ask yourself about the belief, about the thought, is this true? Is this thing that I think about myself, we'll go back to my math example, is it true that I am bad at math? It's not true that I am bad at math. I do have that story a little bit, but it's not true that I'm bad at math. And again, it's so important. This is why I love going back to your journal, because you can just free write it out. Write out, is this true? Is the fact that I am bad at math true? And just write about it. And you can say like, well, I didn't do so well on this one test that one time, and that kind of decreased my confidence. So maybe I'm not good at math, but I also had this time where I won in a math competition. I'm just riffing here, but it allows you when you're journaling to go back and forth, to think about how you really feel about this thought, and to get clear on what is and isn't true. And that will start to allow you to let go of the crap that is not true. Now, if you are telling yourself, yes, it's true that like I'm not worthy of taking care of myself, that I'm not capable of losing weight, of managing my schedule, of being happier, of having a job that I love. If you are saying that these things are true, I want to stop you and call bullshit, because every single one of you is incredible, talented, beautiful, creative, kind, loving. And I say that with certainty because I know it to be true. I know it to be true whether I know you personally and I know you well or not. I know it to be true. And so if you're at that point where it does feel like it's true that you just suck as a human, please message me. Let's talk about what's going on, because it's not true and I would love to prove you wrong. Okay, number 1, noticing your thoughts. Number 2, asking where the thought comes from. Number 3, ask yourself, is this true? And that takes us to number 4, which is to reflect on what is more true than the thought you're having. So again, we come back to our journal. This stuff doesn't have to be journaled. I just find it really helpful to go from thought to page. It helps to process it for me and for a lot of people. So I would suggest writing out what is more true. So you had your question, is this true? You asked where the thought came from. You wrote about it. You asked yourself, is this true? Then after this, reflect on what is more true. Write down what is more true than this thought, than this belief. Back to our math example. What's more true is I really loved math when I was a kid, and I'm good at math. I'm good at math when I use it. What's more true is I don't use math very often, and I love my career, and I'm fine with that. So think about what is more true than whatever limiting belief you're grappling with. So if it's around your self-worth, I think it's more true that you are incredible. You are on this earth for so many reasons. You have an incredible number of gifts that you are meant to share with the world, that you deserve to be happy, that you are worthy of happiness. I believe that those things are true. more true than any ideas around not being worth, not having worth. So reflecting on what is more true. And again, even if you had that idea that, yeah, my negative self-talk, my limiting belief, it is true. I kind of suck. Keep going. Keep doing this exercise and start to reflect on what is more true than that. And again, if you come up dry, if you're like the second step was, I don't know where it comes from. The third step was, yeah, it's true, I suck. And the fourth step is, I got nothing. Please message me, because there's something going on with you that you've got to let go of, because it's holding you back. Okay. Those are my 4 steps. My 4-step process. We've got notice your thoughts, using guided meditation, journaling, reminders to question yourself, question your thoughts, as well as keeping a note in your phone. Number 2, asking where the thought comes from. You can talk to yourself out loud. You can journal things out. Sorry, totally lost my train of thought there. You can talk to yourself out loud, journal things out, whatever works for you. Number 3, ask yourself, is this true? Is what I'm telling myself true? Number 4, ask yourself, what is more true than this limiting thought? And when you practice that every single day, every single time you have a thought, or whenever you remember it, that is when the magic starts to happen. Okay. I am going to real quick make sure, because I have a new mic, my sound is working. Every single time. Awesome. It's working. So that is the 4-step process. And now we're diving into the second part of our class, which is how to break a negative thought loop. And I'm going to try to see the timestamp. So this idea of when you're just stuck and you're on repeat, thinking, and you can't snap out of it, these 6 tips, that's 5, 6 tips, are kind of my go-tos for just snapping out of it. And if you can't, if you're in the middle of a work day, a meeting, whatever, and you can't go through that 4-step process of like, I need to sit and ponder and like journal things out and talk to myself, totally fine. Just use one of these 6 tips. Pull it out of your bag, your metaphorical bag, and use it. Okay, so number 1 is probably pretty obvious that I'm going to go here. Stay present. So the past is over. Right now, the previous portion of this masterclass is done. I can't go back and change what I said. I can't go back and change my brain fart in the middle of a sentence. Which is one of the things I love about Facebook Live. It's so real. This is just me sitting in my house talking to you guys, teaching you things with a crazy thunderstorm going on outside. But the past is done. You can't change it. Stressing about it is going to do nothing except make you right now stressed out. The future is unpredictable. You can't change it necessarily. You can't control it. You can't predict it. So focus on right now, what's happening, and what you can do to change it. What you can control is your mood and your happiness in this moment. So again, return to meditation. If you need to write things out, I'm jumping ahead of myself, write things out and just get it the hell out of your head. Let go of whatever you are carrying with you. I'm about to give you guys all my tips in this one, so I'm going to stop going on that rant and keep going. So my second one is to do a brain dump or a free write, whatever you want to call it. So if you feel like there's too much shit just running around your head, there are too many thoughts, too much going on, pull out a piece of paper and just write it out. Talk about what's going on, what's happening, what's stressing you out, what's causing this anxiety. And then from there, I really like physically letting it go. So I like writing shit out on a piece of paper and then either tearing it up and throwing it away. If you're not in an office where it'd be weird for you to light a piece of paper on fire, you can burn it. I think there's something very cathartic about burning off the stuff that's stressing you out. Let that shit go. You don't need it anymore. So when you're in that negative thought loop, over and over and over, write it out, rip it up, or burn it. For some reason, I feel the need to add hand gestures with this. You guys know how to burn and rip up a piece of paper. Okay. Third tip for when you are stuck in that negative thought loop. Make yourself laugh. Now, I know this may not be easy, but the first suggestion is think about, is there some way you can make this situation humorous? So I think about, say you're nervous, you're stressed out about a presentation you're giving at work, a talk you're giving at school, whatever it may be, a class you're starting to teach soon. And think about that and see if there's a way that you can laugh, even at yourself. I laugh at myself all the time, especially when I'm teaching. And my head always goes to like that advice to picture the audience in their underwear. I don't really love that advice, but that's kind of the gist of what I'm talking about, is think about a way to make it humorous. Maybe even what's the worst case scenario realistically? What's the worst case scenario? And then you might be able to laugh at yourself for being so silly, ridiculous, making yourself crazy over the worst case scenario being not that bad. If that is not working, I would suggest getting your mind off of where it's at and go watch a cat video or a dog video. Or my personal favorite, I'm pulling this out because it's on the Instagram, Juniper Fox on Instagram is like my heart in an Instagram account. There are now 2 foxes that this woman owns. They are her pets, her family. She rescued them from fur farms and is very real about what it's like to be a fox mom. But it's great, and Juniper's awesome and has a ridiculous personality. So make yourself laugh. Go watch a fox video, cat video, whatever it takes. What's the kitten one? Surprised kitten. That's like a 13-second mood cure-all. That's so good. I might go watch that after this. I'm in a decent mood now, but it still makes me even happier. Okay, tip number 4 for breaking yourself out of a negative thought loop. Question yourself. So when you get stuck in that pattern, that spiral, start to ask, are you being logical? Are you being realistic? And even, is there something that you need to make yourself feel better? Ask yourself what you would need to make yourself feel better. And that might be a cat video or Juniper the Fox. Those are mine a lot of the time. Or it might mean that you need a quick 5-minute meditation, that you need to go take a walk, that you need to get up from whatever project you're working on and walk away from it for a little bit. But when we get in that stuck loop, we forget almost that we have options, that we don't have to sit there in that shitstorm of negativity, right? So asking yourself gives you, one, that kind of chance to break the loop and to get different thoughts in there, to change the picture a little bit. And it also gives you the chance to figure out if there's something you need to make yourself feel better. If it's about a project or a deadline at work, then you might realize like, oh shit, I just need to tell my boss that this feels really unrealistic and I need help, or I need to push the deadline back. It could be something that simple, but when you're in that loop, that negative thought loop, it can feel impossible. So remembering to ask yourself, question yourself, think about what you need, and then act on it. Prioritize your needs. Number 5. My agenda is getting all wonky, which is not good. Number 5 is good. Dance yourself clean. The spelling error is intentional. It's actually not a spelling error, just so you guys know. That is the name of one of my favorite songs by LCD Sound System. It's great. I would so recommend, even if you're at the office, can you like sneak out to the bathroom with your phone and headphones for a few minutes and just dance it off like Taylor Swift, Shake It Off, because you'll feel better. You will feel better. Dance ridiculously. Close your door if you have one. If you're at the office, go to the bathroom and dance it out. Invite one of your coworkers, like your work BFF, invite them to dance with you. Do whatever it takes. Because physical movement really does help to shift your mind out of it. You'll be thinking about the song. Put on your favorite playlist even. You could dance to one song and then just keep the playlist running. Music is so, so, so helpful. For real. Last one is I want you to visualize a positive outcome. Now, when you're in the loop, this can be really challenging. So this might be a dance yourself clean and then visualize a positive outcome kind of dealio. Or do one of the other ones. Write out your bullshit, tear it up. This is me tearing up paper or playing maracas. Write out what is stressing you out, tear it up, burn it, and then visualize a positive outcome. Maybe you write it out. Maybe you just close your eyes like we did at the beginning, meditation. And think about what the most positive outcome would be. What is your ideal result? What do you want to happen? And think about what it would feel like for you to have that result. Where would it show up in your body? How would it feel physically? How would it feel emotionally? Would it be joy, excitement, pride, that feeling of accomplishment? What good stuff would be happening for you if your ideal scenario worked out? So from there, I really want you to soak up that feeling. So just sit in it. So if you're in meditation, just sit and breathe into it. Feel what that would feel like. And then that's actually the start of manifesting right there, is you're starting to be an energetic match. You're starting to become a match for that ideal result that you want. And you're also shifting your mind, again, shifting away from those 80% negative thoughts and focusing on something positive. This one is tricky. The more you do it, it's like any other muscle. The more you do it, the better you get at it. So those are my tips for you guys. So to break out of a negative thought loop, we've got stay present. Take a couple of breaths. Focus on what you can control, which is your mood in the moment, your happiness in the moment. 2, brain dump, free write, and then get rid of it. Destroy it somehow that feels really good and cleansing for you. Number 3, make yourself laugh, either about the situation or with the thousands of hilarious videos that YouTube has at all of our disposal. Number 4 is to question yourself. Ask what you need. Ask if you're being logical or if you're blowing something way out of proportion. And be real with your answer. Number 5, dance yourself clean. Dance it out. Put on your favorite song and just dance to let it go. Number 6 is to visualize a positive outcome. And again, that one's last because it's really tricky when you're in that loop, at least. So try one of these other steps first, one of these other tactics. And if you're feeling up for it, you want to take that next level, then visualize the positive outcome. So I hope this is helpful for you guys. Thank you for tuning in. If you're catching the replay, this will be available until Friday, July 14th evening. Friday, probably about 7 o'clock. And then it will go into the Well Soul Collective, which will be opening later this month. You guys can sign up for first dibs and maybe a special promo, just throwing that in there, at my website, chelseaquint.com. And that is what I have for you guys this evening. Leave me your questions, leave me your comments as you are watching this. And I hope y'all have a wonderful rest of your Friday Eve. Good night, guys. Taking it sweet time.